They talk a lot today about genes and it's all your genes, and that's going to dictate how healthy you are. And it's wrong. Genes are important, but they're a small bit of the information your body uses to stay or get healthy. If you want to reverse disease, it's not so much about your genes, it's about how you live. And so over the years, what I noticed is my clients got better. They all improved. Matter of fact, their chances of improving were really, really good if they would follow 5 simple ideas.
Hey guys, welcome to this week's episode. And I could not be more thrilled to have our next guest on the podcast. He's often called the Columbo of health because he seeks clues to his patients' underlying health problems, trying to get down to the root cause. And he is a nutritional therapist and founder of the Functional Diagnostic Nutrition certification course. And he's also the creator of Dress for Health Success program. Welcome, Reed Davis.
Hey, thanks so much, Chantel. I'm really happy to be here. Hope we can do some good.
All right. Well, Reed, let's start by talking about your own wellness journey, yourself personally, and how did it lead you to functional health and nutrition?
Yeah, thanks so much. I mean, right now I'm an older guy, and I've been very, very hard on my body. So I'm very interested in maintaining my youth and vigor and not getting old any faster than I have to, And I have a family history. I've had some of my relatives lived a long time and some died pretty young, So you got to play your cards right, or you won't manifest what you're looking for. And I just want to be healthy, happy, functioning at a very high level until I'm a real ripe old guy, Now, what brought me to the journey, I was actually 20 years ago, I was in the environmental law field. So I studied the environment, and I was out saving the birds and bees and planet and air and trees and, again, the whole planet, everything. And so I turned my attention to what's it doing to people, including me. What's the environment doing to people, including me? So I started working at this clinic, and I took a course in nutrition, and the doctors there at the clinic let me work on their patients in between my classes. And I fell in love with the clinical side. I mean, I thought at the time I was going to be this huge corporate wellness guy and, stick with the environmental, save the planet thing. And I just fell in love with working one-on-one with people. And I did that for the next 10 years. And I found out that nutrition alone was totally inadequate. You can eat the best foods there are and still be sick. And so I want to know everything else that was involved in making a person healthy. And so I studied laboratory work, physiology, anatomy, biochemistry, all that stuff that most people don't have time or the inclination for, but that is very, very important. And I still study to this day genetics and how those affect our health. But anyway, so to get to the chase, I guess, I developed a system of investigation. They do compare me to some of the best detectives because that's my mentality. Find out what's really wrong. Who's the real culprit, if you will. And it's not just the environment, but it is, there's a way to find out what's really wrong. And so you're not just treating your symptoms. The other thing, of course, is, well, how do you fix it? And that's where that Dress for Health Success system comes in. That's what I discovered over the years. You need to follow to be healthy, to be that healthy, happy person, not just symptom-free, but actually have a lot of abundance and a really good immune system, a really clear thinking, and actually be happy, which we're designed perfectly for if the design is functioning the way it's supposed to, which is not how people come to us. So that's kind of the background.
So can you explain to the listeners what is DRESS and what does the acronym stand for, and how does it play into just overall health?
Oh, sure. So, they talk a lot today about genes and it's all your genes, and that's going to dictate how healthy you are. And it's wrong. Genes are important, but they're a small bit of the information your body uses to stay or get healthy. If you want to reverse disease, it's not so much about your genes, it's about how you live. And so over the years, what I noticed is my clients got better. they all improved. Matter of fact, their chances of improving were really, really good if they would follow 5 simple ideas. It's DRESS, and that stands for diet, of course. Diet affects every cell, tissue, organ, and system in your body. Rest, which is like getting a good night's sleep and letting your hormones balance out and processing all your thoughts and feelings and things like that, and also detoxifying your body. So if you eat right, diet, sleep right, rest. E is exercise. Everyone knows that today, here I am sitting down, but sitting is the new smoking. It's like almost a disease waiting to happen if all you do is sit around. You have to move your body. So DRE, diet, rest, exercise. Now the 2 S's are stress reduction and supplements. And I don't have my own line of supplements. I'm not selling anything. I'm not in the supplement business. But I know a lot about them, and they are very important. And so is stress reduction. Matter of fact, that might be the biggest area that we can help a person, because so many of the stressors are hidden, Chantel. Food sensitivities and bacteria and funguses and viruses and molds and yeasts, and all kinds of things are hidden. And they're hidden in our environment too. They're hidden in your clothes and your furniture and your draperies and your personal care products and your household cleaning products and things. So diet is critical, rest, exercise. Stress reduction is huge and expansive because there's so much of it's hidden. And then supplements will kick in at that point. As a matter of fact, I'll make one little comment here that part of my nutrition training early on, we solved or tried to solve a lot of problems with just supplements. And again, it didn't work. I just had way too many people saying, I felt a little better on them. Or some people said, I don't really feel much different. Other people said they felt worse. So it really is, you have to take a very individualized approach. And that's why the lab work, it's more the investigation came in. And then how do you fix it all at one time? How do you have an effect on every cell, tissue, organ, and system on the entire organism? Well, you use dress, and that resolves, at least gives people a really good chance of returning their health over and living a long time happy and healthy. Don't I look happy and healthy?
You do. You just make me smile looking at you. And I think another thing is really important to talk about is what kind of supplements, because a lot of these places are talking about that they are whole food supplements, but they're using synthetic ingredients instead of using whole foods. And so I'm so passionate about supplements. I know some people are on one end of another. I'm a huge supplement fan, and I feel like they make you feel so much better. But the main thing is, what kind of supplement are you using? And is it truly organic? Is it truly whole food? Or is this just synthetic? Because for me, if I take a synthetic supplement, I am going to feel worse. That's for sure.
Well, it's a really, really good question. It's such a broad topic. I guess we want to start with, why do we need to supplement? And the truth is, food just doesn't have enough nutrition in it. It's not nutrient dense enough. There isn't enough vitamins and minerals and phytonutrients and essential fatty acids and all these things, the antioxidants. So there's the idea from food that you could get protein. You can get plenty of protein, which has your amino acids. You can get fat, the essential fatty acids things. And you can get some carbohydrates, the sugars and things like that are important. But that's the macronutrients, fat, carbohydrate, and protein. The micronutrients, again, the vitamins, minerals, and so on, those are harder to get because the soils just don't have all of the nutrition that it used to have. Like my grandfather grew food, both my grandfathers up in Canada. We ate that food and we think we were pretty well nourished. But, today the soils are depleted, so the plants just can't get enough nutrition. Even organic food doesn't have enough nutrition in it. We eat it because it's free from pesticides, herbicides, insecticides, rodenticides, and all the other things. So it doesn't have spray on it That's a good thing. That's why we eat organic, but it doesn't have that much extra nutrition. And so you want to supplement. The word supplement means supplement or substitute for what's missing in food. And then there's other categories of supplements. So we can supplement or substitute for what's missing in food, get your micronutrients, and they're really important. Everyone should take antioxidants. Everyone should take some minerals and some vitamins and things like that. But the other things, you can take supplements to stimulate your immune system. So there's stimulation of certain glands, organs. Like you can stimulate your digestion, make it work better, break down food, a little bit better, things like that. So we substitute for what's missing in food. We stimulate like the immune system. If you're getting on an airplane, you probably should take some immune support so you don't catch something while you're flying. I mean, it's totally fine to boost up your immune system. Take some zinc and take some echinacea or whatever it is that seems to work best for you. And so the other thing is really to self-treat. You can take supplements instead of taking drugs. Now, this gets a little bit trickier, but, drugs are all toxic, poisonous chemicals. The body doesn't really know how to process most of them. Matter of fact, there's a lot of side effects and contraindications and risks and warnings that come along with drugs. Well, supplements are natural, so they're safer, and you can accomplish some of the same things, I think, with good knowledge and reduce your drug load, if you want to. So you can substitute, you can stimulate, you can support, and you can self-treat. So support would be like support your adrenal glands. If you're under a lot of stress, why not? Support your hormones, all your hormone systems, things like that. So there's maybe the 4 S's: substitute, stimulate, support, and we said stimulate. There's 4 S's. So it's supplements are really good if you're using the right ones. You mentioned quality. Quality is huge too, and you whole food is the way to go. If they're derived. Let's take vitamin C for instance. Vitamin C, when just isolated like ascorbic acid, will do one of 3 things: make you feel better, do nothing, or make you feel worse. So 2 out of 3 things aren't positive, So, but vitamin C in nature, so it's got all the what are called cofactors. You'd want closer to that if you can get it. So pay more, for a high quality. Don't buy cheap stuff because it's not really going to help you very much.
Well, let's talk about B12 for just a second, because I know that, people with certain medical conditions such as like celiac disease or Crohn's disease, they might not be able to absorb adequate B12 from their food. And now a lot of people are going, I know me and my husband just watched this movie called, oh gosh, what was it called? It was all about, is a vegan movie, but it was talking about why you should go vegan. But vegan is a big thing right now, and they're strict vegetarians who are not eating meat, fish, egg, or dairy products, and they can develop B12 vitamin deficiencies because of the lack of vitamin B12 in their diet. So talk a little bit about B12, and even in the movie that we watched, it talked about how even the meat, that even if you are eating meat, that the B12 levels that used to be in our meat are not as much as they need to be. Can you talk about that for a minute?
Yeah, there's a lot to talk about, and I don't really focus on individual vitamins. Vitamin B12 is cobalamin. It's well established as playing an essential role in red blood cell formation, for instance. So that's what carries your oxygen around your body. That's a pretty important thing. Cell metabolism itself, so what's going on inside a cell depends on some of these vitamins like B12. Again, people consider it to be kind of an energy shot. So you can go get shots of B12 and you feel a little bit more energetic. Well, maybe it's because your red blood cells are now functioning better. Cell metabolism itself is functioning better. It also helps your nervous system. And so there's I have a little issue with taking this for that, though. It's too simplistic of an approach. And it's a good way for people to sell you a lot of vitamins, because you can pose or postulate that with any supplement, list the benefits of it, and people will all say, what? I need that. I need B12. I need B5. I need B6. So there's all these B vitamins. We generally just used to call them 20 years ago the stress vitamins, because they're so good for helping your body function. Your body can take B5, for instance, and with cholesterol, make steroid hormones out of it. So hormones depend on some of the B vitamins. So and hormones are very important in stress. So you can kind of go down all of these paths, but I don't want people sort of saying, I'm going to go get some B12 because then, my red blood cell formation will be better and I'll carry more oxygen. I don't believe in take this for that approach. But B12, generally, you can get it from your poultry and your meats and things, if it's high quality meat. Again, same thing with as with vegetables. You want to use organic beef and cows and pigs or whatever, chicken, whatever you're eating. They all have B12, including dairy products, by the way, which are harder to digest, but they work for some people, and they have some of these vitamins in them. But you want organic because you don't want extra hormones in the meat. You want them to be grass-fed if they're cows. Pigs don't eat grass, but they could be fed more natural vegetable matter and other things. Whatever slop they're eating could be better. And so, but you wanted them to be without antibiotics also. So try to make sure your meats are antibiotic free and hormone free.
All right. So in my newest edition of my book, Waste Away, I talk about how people don't need to deprive themselves when it comes to food, but everyone needs to decide for themselves what are their red light, yellow light, and green light foods. Meaning, like, when I eat this, for me personally, this is a red light food. I just don't touch this. Or yellow light food, I don't feel great, so I don't have a lot of it. Do you have any foods for you that you say, personally, I kind of stay away from this, or I limit this, or is everything on limits for you?
Well, no, I there's a lot of foods that I avoid, but I've also run the testing that can help you determine your food avoidances. So that's where I hang out. It's in the laboratory world of testing. So you have two basic types of avoidances. One is you have a hard time digesting it. So the food itself isn't bad, but your body has a hard time breaking it down and absorbing it properly. The other is that you could actually have an immune system response. Like, your body looks at it as an enemy. It treats it like the same way it would treat bacteria or fungus or something. It doesn't like it. So you're going to get a reaction. And so you've got those that are hard to digest. Like, certain people have a hard time with bread, the grains and things like that. The most common would be wheat and corn and soy. Other people, it's eggs and dairy. So those 5 things alone, wheat, soy, corn, eggs, and dairy, are very, very common that people have a hard time digesting and breaking them down. And so therefore they would get gassy or bloaty, or now if the immune system is also kicking in and you're having that in addition to some inability to properly break it down, now you're really talking about skin problems. So your eyes might water up. You might get sneezy. You might get the hives on your skin. Those would be obvious, and you'd learn very quickly to avoid those foods. Like, every time I eat tomatoes, my red turns blotchy. Okay, pretty soon you don't eat tomatoes anymore. That's called an IgE allergy, and doctors know how to test for allergies, and they do all the time. So, but there are much more subtle ways that the immune system can respond, and sometimes it's a very delayed reaction. Very delayed. It could be 2 or 3 or 4 days, or maybe it would take an accumulation of that negative food to create a symptom. So you could be just tired, fatigued, irritable. You could also have some of the other symptoms but you can't attach it to what you just ate that day or that morning. So, because again, they take a long time to, and so you're just left wondering. Well, that's why the laboratory work is so handy. We run a test. It's called the mediator release test. I have my favorite testing. There's all kinds of ways to test for food sensitivities. So we have a general screening that we use, and it helps. When you eliminate those foods, if they are contributing to the chaos in your body, is producing some symptoms, eliminating them can be miraculous. I've had people with migraine headaches and blotchy, the hives, blotchy skin, and serious like pain in the neck kind of symptomatology, you might say, just completely go away. I've also had kids with asthma symptoms and ADD and ADHD all of a sudden be like a new kid. One time, really early on, this was very encouraging 20 years ago, I did first test on a child whose mom was a client of mine, said her kid had been getting kicked out of school. Now, I said, what is he, 16? Is he smoking and drinking? No, he's 9. I said, well, how can a 9-year-old be bad? 9-year-olds aren't bad kids. They don't get kicked out of school. He was just really not paying attention. He was fidgety. He was poking around with the other kids and stuff because he's probably bored to tears. But all we did is run a test, get him off certain foods and additives, because you can test for those too. And the principal of the school called me 2 weeks later and said, what did you put little Billy on? Like as if I had drugged him or given him. And I said, no, man, we just got him straightened out as far as food, which was your question. So circling, there are certain very common foods that are hard to digest. People have bad reactions to them. When the immune system kicks in, that's when it gets tricky and you probably want to run a test.
Now, do you have a certain brand of the food intolerance test that you recommend versus another one?
Yeah, the issue, though, is that you have to be a physician or hooked up with a physician to run them. They're hard for people to run on themselves. And also, if you go direct, it's kind of really expensive. I can do some of these tests for almost half price. But I do use, for the record, the Oxford Biomedical Mediator Release Test. And they do have a program. And people can go there and get that test, and they'll help you out. They're great people. And I've been using that test for 20 years.
That's your favorite, and that's your favorite one?
It's a go-to screening. So there's other ways of testing that if I have complex cases that have been going on for a while and I want to look at a little deeper, well, then I might run a different test. There's IgG testing, and you can get combined antibody tests, combining IgA and IgM. These are different ways of looking at how the immune system's reacting. There are complementary pathways. When you get into mold and some of these other problems people have where these toxins are just circulating and the immune system's upset and you get co-infections. It gets a little hard to straighten out. But so far as my first go-to screening for a person I don't know very well, like a new client, I would say, yeah, let's screen with this, get you off these foods. And, so we refine the diet with the foods test, getting them off certain things. And also you hydrate very well, and then you do the rest and the exercise and the stress reduction. Food can be a stressor, and so can parasites, bacteria, funguses, mold. So there's lots of ways to straighten that out. Again, I mentioned the household products and the personal care products, and even your new furniture could be outgassing, fire retardants, and formaldehyde or something that just really drives some people wacky if they're overly sensitive to it. And that's when the supplements, you can fine tune them and get people straightened out. It's a path,
Yes, it
and
is.
we're all on this journey. We're all walking up the steps to where we're trying to get to the top, where we're really healthy and happy. And first of all, I don't know, I've been doing this 20 years. I don't know anyone at the top. We're all just kind of up the stairs. Some people have a lot more steps to go, though, so we're helping them up while we're also reaching up for ourselves, trying to walk the talk, right? I mean, I know you do your diet and rest and exercise and everything, Chantel.
Yes. Well, now the question that I ask all my guests, take me through a normal day in the life of Reed. Like, what did you eat yesterday? When did you eat it? Talk to us about that.
Hey, that's really a good question. Well, I get up every morning and I do a little meditation and I be thankful and prayerful and I hydrate my body. So I try to drink at least a glass of water. Sometimes I'll do a green juice, like a smoothie type of a thing. And then it depends on my workload and things like that. But it's usually very early. This morning I got up the first time at 3:30, did a little hydration, went back to bed, and I got up at 5:30, and then I'm up. And I'm typically, again, hydrating. I do my meditation before I get out of bed. I can, I'm with someone and we meditate together and fool around sometimes and stuff like that. But, so I start off prayerful and thankful and happy and look outside and I live in a very beautiful spot in Southern California. I'm right on a lake with mountains and I've designed my life to be this way. I work very, very hard to try to walk that talk of peace, tranquility, and having the time, getting up and things like that. And then I'm like everyone else. I hit the email and see what's going on. I look at my schedule. I usually start my appointments, which are often back to back for 3, 4, 5 hours, 5 days a week. I work hard. And this morning I did 2 post-grad interviews, for instance. And then my better half brought me some food. Typically for breakfast, that could be, if we feel like cooking, it could be some meat and eggs. I do really well on a lot of protein with some fat. I'm a protein type guy. I'm not a vegan. I'm not even anywhere near a vegetarian. I eat things that in the past my ancient ancestors would have caught and killed and cooked. So I eat paleo or ancestral type diet. But a lot of mornings too, I just do a shake. They're just really handy. We buy only the very best, proven ingredients. My mate, as I say, is really good at reading labels and figuring things out and trying to keep me from eating crap all the time. just joking around here, but yeah, and I'll wash down supplements with that. I'll do my things. I take a multivitamin, I take a multimineral. Usually that's at night. And antioxidants and things, maybe some extra fish oil or something like that. I do vitamin D. Even though I live in Southern California, we all seem to be a bit deficient in that, according to the research. And then I take things just because I'm an older guy, and so I try to keep it simple. If I'm going on an airplane, which I travel a lot, I'm taking my immune support with me, at least some zinc, and things that are going to boost you up a little bit. And then I'll find a break. I have one more meeting after this, and then I'm going to take a nice break. I'm going to go outside and do some exercise in my yard. I have some acreage. And right now I'm clearing, the spring brush is still over, and I live in a very high, California, I live in a high fire. I'm up in the hills. And so fires come through every couple of years and wipe out a lot of people. So I keep my brush down. That's really hard physical labor. I also have a casita with a gym in it, and I'll have my personal trainer come over. She comes over every week. We work out really hard, and in between I'll do a little bit of tuning up. I also have a swimming pool. I like to swim more in the summer than winter, but even my jacuzzi, it's big and deep, and I do some exercises in there as well. So I'm trying to walk the talk.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's great.
I don't look 106, do I?
You look amazing. All right, let's.
No, I'm only. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I'm 66 years old. I feel like I did when I was 40. I just feel great. If it wasn't for a few injuries, from sports and motorcycle wrestling, I wrestled until I was 63 years old. Like every week, like hard, a couple of times a week, wrestling these young bucks that wanted to take on the old man, and taught a
Awesome.
few lessons here and there.
Hey guys, I hope you're enjoying the episode so far. But as you know, I've interviewed over 1,000 women, and every time I've watched a thin eater eat, I realize that maintaining a healthy weight is a skill that can be taught and mastered over time. That's why I created a video course that will teach you all the tips that I learned to help me lose over 30 pounds. It's way more powerful to watch the thin eaters than even to listen or to read it. Go to chantelrayway.com/video for a free glimpse. If you're wanting to take yourself to the next level, everyone needs a coach. Every professional player has a coach. We want to come alongside you and help you in your journey. Go to chantelrayway.com/coaching. I just had someone listen to the audiobook 3 times, and she just emailed me and she said by her listening to the audiobook 3 times, that's what did it. That's what allowed her to really lose the weight. We have an amazing offer for you. It's the 2nd edition of my book, which has tons more information. It has the audiobook, the ebook. It normally runs for $29.99. You can get it today for $4.99. Go to chantelrayway.com/deal to get it. Now back to the show. All right, well, let's jump right into the listener questions. This first one is from Katie in Chicago. Hey there, love your podcast, and I like how you cover such a range of topics, especially related to thyroid. I've been diagnosed with hypo and Hashimoto's. However, my levels are normal now and feel great overall, especially when I eat 80% clean and 20% what I want. My question is, if my levels are fine, can I still donate blood? Or are people with autoimmune not supposed to? Sending God's love. Thank you, Katie in Chicago.
Yeah, so you can donate blood if you're healthy. They'll screen you, and they screen blood before they give it to anyone anyway. So as long as you don't have an infectious disease, I think you're okay to donate blood. That's a nice thing to do. I don't do it very often, but I've done it. So you want to be checked out, make sure you don't have, hepatitis or something like that. And there's worse stuff. But yeah, you can. What was the other question in there, though?
That was all she said. She said, if my levels are fine, can I still donate blood, or are people with autoimmune not supposed to?
Yeah, well, you said Hashimoto's. That's possible. I mean, that's basically your body attacking itself, and there probably is some antibodies that you wouldn't want to pass on to anyone else just now. But if you have got it all checked up and everything's back to normal, then I don't see an issue. But thyroid's a very interesting thing. I love talking about thyroid, and have helped a lot of people where there really was nothing wrong with their thyroid. With Hashimoto's, there is. You got your body attacking itself, and you're having a hard time. But once you get the immune system quieted down, you could still have, quote unquote, ordinary hypothyroidism. That's when your metabolism is slowed down a little bit. You would know it because you'd be sort of tired, fatigued a lot. You might not be able to lose weight very well. You'd be maybe even sad. You would have cold or even numb extremities, your arms and legs, things like that. You probably would definitely be constipated and some of these other symptoms like that. Well, it sounds like thyroid. And you could check a person's thyroid output and it would be low. Their TSH would be a little high. Their actual T4, T3 measurements would be a little bit low. But there's so many other reasons why your thyroid would be not keeping up to speed. One of them is just adaptation to stress. When you have stress, you have cortisol. Cortisol is the stress hormone. It helps you when you're under stress. Well, that suppresses the thyroid by suppressing the messenger from the pituitary. It's called thyroid stimulating hormone. That gets suppressed by cortisol. So naturally, your thyroid is not going to produce the right amount of thyroid hormone, and you would have those same thyroid symptoms. And so be very careful when you hear hypothyroid, because I mentioned stress. That's one of 8 different reasons I could tell you why you'd be hypothyroid, and there's nothing really wrong with your thyroid gland. If you ever want to talk about that, you could have me back and we'll do a thyroid show.
Yes, I would love it. All right, this next one is from Corey in Stafford. Hi there. Love the podcast and the book. Question though, I have adrenal fatigue and have really struggled with 16-hour fasts even. Got debilitating headaches several days a week for several weeks. Then I heard from some different nutritionists that they don't recommend fasting with adrenal fatigue since it adds more stress to your body. Just wondering what your take is on it. Corey in Stafford.
Yeah, well, intermittent fasting is okay from time to time. There are certain cultures, for instance, that fast every week, no matter what. Like it's a strong religious conviction, and it actually can have some health benefits. So you can detoxify your body, and lots of good things can come from fasting. You keep your metabolism up, for one thing. Your body will be trying to burn. It's going to search for calories while you're fasting, and probably burn a little fat. Depending on what your diet is the rest of the week. So intermittent fasting is fine. If you, adrenal fatigue, I have to say, is it's almost a misnomer now. The adrenals, pretty much like the thyroid, do what they're told. And so if you have low adrenal output, that can mean a lot of things. But, your cortisol would typically be very low throughout the day. You could also have low DHEA. That's the parent of your sex hormones, and your there's other hormones that are produced in the adrenals. So, just quote unquote adrenal fatigue is not a term I use very much anymore. I used to because it's a great construct, and it is a construct. It's a way of thinking. Oh, your adrenals are tired, therefore you feel tired, and your energy levels and sex hormones go down, like almost guaranteed. Loss of libido, ability to build muscle, energy, things like that. So, but the adrenals really are just doing what they're told. So you need to find out the stressors, like what has put you under so much stress that you are kind of beating up the adrenals a little bit. So this is again the idea of being Columbo, who was a great detective. He didn't dress very well, that's why I used Columbo instead of Sherlock Holmes. Plus everyone says Sherlock Holmes, so you have to just keep snooping around until you find out what the hidden stressors are. Remember in our DRESS program, it's the stress reduction, hidden stressors. You go in that direction to look for those, and then your adrenals will come back around. But as for intermittent fasting, you could still fast once a week. I wouldn't have any issue with that. Even if you have quote unquote adrenal fatigue, because in the meantime, you're going to be really finding out what those hidden stressors are. That could be parasites, bacteria, funguses, viruses, mold in your house, the chemical and environmental stressors. It could be mental, emotional stress. If you hate your job and hate driving to it and hate driving home from it and are too tired to play with the kids, or watch a movie with your spouse when you get home, that's stressful. So there's mental, and there's also pain. And that would probably be the one that I don't have a total handle on, is physical pain. And it's just from injuries, just because I've been, I have a very well-used body. Everything from surfing and motorcycle riding and wrestling, and you just get dinged up. So you're walking around, you need to take really good care of the human frame, your musculoskeletal. And I try, I get massage and I do Pilates and yoga, try to, line myself up all the time.
Yeah.
But anyway, so you have all these stressors, the mental, emotional, the physical, and then the biochemical stuff, those bugs and food sensitivities and environmental junk.
Yeah, I think that, wouldn't you agree, most people are talking about one of the biggest causes of adrenal fatigue is caused by chronic stress, and that us as, Americans, we're just not ever powering down the computer. And I think just such a good analogy is like when your phone is just acting up and it's not doing well, the first thing they recommend is completely power it down and then turn it back on. And I feel like, one thing me and my husband have done is, like, on Sundays, that's our power down day. And we are like, a lot of times even Kyle, my son, gets invited to birthday parties And we finally have just made the decision, like, Sundays are power down day. Like, we are completely off on Sundays. We go to church, and besides that, that's it. We are, not going to this function and that function and that function, and really powering down. What is your thoughts on that?
I'll just say amen to that, sister, because you better learn how to turn your mind off. Like, at least with a computer, you can just shut your notebook down, or I turn my screen off most nights. And but how do you do that with your brain? Like, even this morning, I wake up and again, my partner says, I can see it, your brain's going, isn't it? And I go, yeah. And so we do this breathing thing, and she kind of talks me down. She's just really spiritual and is able to notice. And so she, at nighttime, she can knock me out. I just do the breathing and just clear. And so it's actually an exercise of sorts. It's an activity that you do. Other people, they grab, liquor or drugs or something like that. You don't need that stuff. If it helps you, great. Once in a while, recreationally, I don't care if someone smokes a joint or something. I don't care, but if it's, this day in and day out stress that we're under, and I have 3,000 students in 50 countries. I have 20 people working for me. So that could, as a matter of fact, this weekend we have our annual conference. I have 200 of my students in town. I got 150 hotel rooms at the Hard Rock Hotel in San Diego that I'm responsible for. And all these meals. It could really get to you if you don't have a practice of meditation and gratefulness, and being thankful. It just helps so much. And good things happen to you, when you can put your troubles aside and you open up for good things to occur. I always pray, can I have this and that? Or if you have something better in mind, I'll take that too,
Yeah. All right, Claire in Seattle. I've been feeling unusually tired lately. I've had a lot of brain fog and inflammation in my joints too. I went to my primary care physician and he ran blood work and he said everything came back within normal ranges. He can't find anything wrong with me. I know I'm not crazy. Should I get a second opinion or a different blood test? Claire in Seattle.
Oh my God. Well, I would ask the rest of the audience, and you two, raise your hand if you've ever heard that before, like you or someone was told everything looks normal on a blood test. Well, doctors are there to save lives, and they're there to rule out something really that's going to nail you, put you down. So when they don't see that, they say you're fine, because they aren't looking for the what's called subclinical levels. They also aren't running the right test for that kind of a problem. Again, you'd have to be really, anemic or something, or have something going on for them to be able to explain that. And so they just say, go do some diet and exercise, which everyone knows is good idea, but it doesn't fix. You don't feel like exercising. And you might actually have cravings when you go to eat right. And you say, well, I'm really craving this or craving that, and it's bad for you. So the answer is really the DRESS. It is to go back and check what you're eating. I would ask, how often is this bothering you? Is it every day? How long has that been going on? And if it's only been a few weeks, what changed? What's different? Did you move? Did you buy a new piece of furniture that's outgassing some horrible thing? Or, just there's something. Again, being a health detective means looking around, snooping. And this is why journaling is so important. People, like I keep mine right on my screen. I have two screens, one I'm looking at and this one over here. And in all my appointments, I make notes so I can go back. And I keep that and I track. And, when you have daily routines and daily habits, you're able to pick up on some of these clues a little bit better. Something changed. And so you got to go back and figure it out. And don't let them tell you it's just you got older, because we're designed to be really vibrant pretty much until we die. Like you're gonna die, but you should be pretty healthy and happy and active until then. Or there's some work to be done. Again, you can refine the DRESS program. I recommend you find one of my practitioners. I've trained a lot of them. They're there to help you.
That's awesome. All right, last question. Dean in Scottsdale. I'm a 63-year-old man in pretty good health. I just had a physical and my cholesterol came back high. My doctor recommended I go on Lipitor, but I really don't want to be on medication for years. Are there any diet changes that I can make that can help me lower my cholesterol naturally? Dean in Scottsdale.
Yeah, sure. I mean, listen, I'm not your physician. I can't counteract or countermand. And you should always check with your doctor before you do supplements or change your diet or change your exercise routines and things like that. So it's really good. Like we just had answered this question a moment ago, doctor. It's good that you go to the doctor. Rule out anything that's really, if you have a brain tumor, you'd want to know about that. If you got a pain in your chest and there's a big thing in there, growing, you got to get the doctors can order these CT scans and all these things. But barring that, I think that they do overprescribe. I think they depend on pills too much. And if pills don't work, then they like cutting parts out and stuff like that. So I don't know what the numbers are. When you say high cholesterol, usually they're talking about the low density lipoproteins, and they like to keep those real low. I think that the numbers that they go by are a little too critical. And what's much more important is your HDLs, the good cholesterol. What you want to do is elevate that to where it's more than 25% of your total cortisol. In other words, if you have a total cholesterol of 200 and your high density or HDLs are 50, that's a 4-to-1 ratio, right? You've got basically 25%. So you want to raise up the HDLs to where they're closer to half. So if your cholesterol, like technically, you don't want a cholesterol of 300. But technically, if your HDLs were 150, it wouldn't be so bad. So no one has an HDL of 150. I'm just saying, like really vigorous exercise is one of the things you can do to raise your HDLs and get those to where they're about a third or half of your total, equal to a third or half of your total cholesterol. And you'll do much better that way first. And do some research on that, like what's more important. Just the flat out LDL number, or is it your HDL to total cholesterol ratio? And I think you'll find that the HDL to total cholesterol ratio is much more important indicator of how healthy you are, especially since you said you feel good and you're in shape. So you also could watch your diet. Just do some liver cleansing. Get a good liver support product and keep your liver in good shape. Liver is what makes cholesterol for the most part, and you'll be in better shape that way.
Well, thank you so much for being on our show today. And where can listeners go to follow you and your work?
Thank you. Well, I have a website. It's functionaldiagnosticnutrition.com. I couldn't think of a longer name, so I called it that. Functionaldiagnosticnutrition.com. It's a mouthful, I know. But it's, you could spell it, you could type it in, and you'll find us. Now, that's a website. It looks like it's more for professionals like health coaches and nutritionists and personal trainers and nurses. We teach a lot of them how to run lab work and use these protocols, the DRESS program. But anyone could take that course. There's no prerequisite. Why would I turn someone down who wants to learn? So I don't turn anyone who wants to take it. They can work on themselves and work on their family. That alone would be worth the price of admission. And so I would recommend you go there and look into it and talk to one of my course counselors. We have a chat there, and they're just really friendly people. They won't try to sell you anything. They'll really try to help you.
That's awesome. Now, if they decide to take the full plan and they decide to take the whole course and they pass it, then do they become a functional doctor, or what do they get at the
Yeah,
end of that course?
you get 2 certificates. If you take my course, you'll get my certificate that you have graduated, and you'll get a personal interview with me. And, I am looking to deputize as many practitioners or people as possible to do this for a living. So the course includes the lab work, learning everything you need to know, the protocols, everything you need to, and it includes a business module where you can set yourself up in business as a health coach. Now, and my course has been accredited by the American Association of Drugless Practitioners. So you become board eligible to get your holistic health practitioner certificate from the AADP, as I said. So it's 2 certs for the price of 1, and I will teach you how to do this for a living. Number 1 thing to do is do it on yourself. But if you have a strong desire to help others and are willing to work on yourself and walk the talk, then you qualify to do this work and take our course.
And how long does it take the average person to take the course from start to finish?
Well, we only take above average people, so I don't know the answer to that.
Okay, how about above average people then?
I'm just kidding. I'm so kidding. It takes 6 months. It's a good 6 months. People have done it faster because they just have more time to go through the lessons and things. But there are a lot of practical exercises. There's a lot of one-on-one coaching with the mentors, my staff, to make sure you really get it, to walk you through case studies and your own personal health. Heck, I pay for 2 labs. You'll run saliva and urine test on yourself, and you'll do 1 more test. And I pay for it all. So, and my mentors walk you. So you work on yourself as part of the course. Then, of course, you're qualified to work with others. And I teach you a business model that's very rewarding. You can work part-time, or you could have a full-blown, full-time practice if you want.
Awesome. Well, Reed Davis, everyone, functionaldiagnosticnutrition.com is his website. And if you have a question that you want answered, go to questions@chantelrayway.com. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.